The time is now upon us. We must discuss Best Boy. Thank you to our final patrons, Strawbones and Aaron. Now, before we hop into this breakdown, slash discussion on Nasiens and why I believe he has endless potential for the future of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, please leave your own thoughts on Nasiens in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below. You can support for as low as $1 a month to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? I got the pencil here, and Nasiens is best boy, and he has infinite potential, and he's best boy, and he's best boy, and if he's not your best boy, I'm afraid you're just wrong. Now, you Pelgard stands out there, don't worry, I'm still the leader of the fan club, and he still is best man. I do want him at my wedding, because I know he'll make it 10 times funnier, but other than that, we got to talk about Nasiens, and why I think, overall, on multiple levels, he has infinite potential to stick around pretty much forever. I will be making videos on other characters like this, but Nasiens, being best boy, he has to get the treatment first. So, why do I think Nasiens has infinite potential on a character level? We know nothing about Nasiens. We just know he was raised by Ordo, alongside Dolores, I guess, and that's it. We don't know where he came from. We don't know who his mom is. We don't know who his dad is. We have nothing. Nasiens is as good as a mystery as Meliodas was at the beginning of the original series. We know more about Percy and his origins than we do about Nasiens. We know more about Anne and her origins than we do about Nasiens. We know more about Donnie and his origins than we do about Nasiens. We know more about Lance's, Tristan's, Wayne's. Like, we have so much more information on all of those characters. So in terms of a sheer character level, in terms of character background information, Nakaba has essentially left the door wide open. Like, legitimately, we could learn things about Nasiens every other chapter, and we couldn't compare it to anything because we know nothing about him. Anyone could recognize him and be like, hey, and say his name or whatever. And I think that's great, right? Because one of the major things that I noticed that Nakaba likes to do with characters that he'll keep around is he'll usually introduce them as very, very vague in terms of like their history, their background, anything about that. And usually later they'll explain things. Like, remember, Meliodas, he was just a dude. We had no idea about his relation to the Demon King. We still don't know anything about his mom, but still, there's so much mystery behind him. Bon, we were introduced to him, but who the heck was Bon? We didn't know about his parents, his past, his dad, but we got that later. Who the heck was Diane? We knew nothing, and we still know nothing about her parents, but at least we know something of her backstory. Like, every single character has a whiff, a mystery behind them when they're meant to have longevity. Notably, characters who aren't meant to have longevity, narratively, you learn a lot about them very quickly. Like, look at all the Holy Knights. We pretty much got their backstories and where they came from and their main goals the moment they were introduced, with the only real exceptions being like Hauser and Gilthunder, maybe. Even then, we learned a lot about them very, very quickly. So, Nasiens being a literal mystery book, Nakaba can go down two different routes. He can go down the Star Wars sequel trilogy route, where Rey is a nobody, or he could also go down the Star Wars sequel trilogy route, sequel trilogy route, where Rey is the grandson of Palpatine. Like, Nasiens could be anybody, and I think that's great, because, once again, Nakaba can just string me along, because I'm intrigued enough about it. Nasiens' abilities seem a bit too potent for just a random to have. Like, everything that Poison Mixer can do is legitimately insane. Like, there's no logical explanation for this ability to just pop into existence. I'd say it's up there with top 10 most versatile magics, and we'll go into that in a little bit. But in terms of just sheer background and character writing that one can do with Nasiens, you can literally have a whole story arc about him, being him, doing him, finding out about himself. Because while Nasiens has not had much focus in terms of his history and stuff like that, and who knows, he may not care, you can give him a whiff, give us a taste of the mystery behind Nasiens. Because, no offense, in narratives, you don't just leave babies at someone else's doorsteps unless they have some sort of history behind them. Sure, will that happen in real life? Unfortunately, yes, but this is a story. And Nakaba would not go out of his way to specifically not make Nasiens related to Ordo unless it meant something. So in terms of long-form storytelling, we have a journey that we could explore with Nasiens. And that's one of the main things that will keep him relevant in comparison to a lot of characters we do know more about. And I think that's great. Another thing about Nasiens, he's kind of the only one out of, I'd say, both of our original groups whose techniques cannot be replicated, and whose presence, as far as we know for now, will be needed, because Donnie's telekinesis, while good, is likely going to be unlocked and or simply is unlocked but not yet used by Lance. He is a fairy. Pretty much every fairy we've seen has had some form of telekinesis, especially the strong ones. On top of that, we have Anne. We once again have Lancelot all over again, because while she can see that a person is hiding something and or possibly lying, she can't tell what. Meanwhile, Lance can just provoke the question, and bada bing, bada boom, he gets the answer. So she can be kind of replaced. Take a look at Isolde. All she is a powerhouse with delayed explosions. You know who else is a powerhouse with delayed explosions? Percy. And you know how big his explosions are in comparison to Isolde's? Drastically different. Look at Jade. Darkness is cool. You know who else can use darkness? The literal son of the strongest demon to ever exist. Pretty replaceable if you ask me. You'll want to look at the last person who may have an ounce, a whiff, a taste of hope. Kion. The breathing thing is pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you. Being able to take away someone's breathing, that is strong. But it's not necessary. Like, hypothetically, if the whole gang were to get poisoned, like, say, well, we literally see a situation where it happens. While Gawain was knocked out and Lancelot was not there, we do not have any reason to assume that either of them are directly immune to poisons. Unfortunately, Lancelot is not a fairy king, meaning he cannot control poisons as far as we know. So he should still be affected. If he was there in the Meligalon incident, he would also be messed up because of the neurotoxin. But you know who was there? You know who was able to dispel the neurotoxin? It was Father Nasiens, because he's just that goated. And he has the ability to take care of something that could be a real viable threat, considering how much it has appeared so far within the narrative itself. We've had multiple examples of poison users in Four Knights alone. And considering how effective of a strategy it is, I would not be shocked if it kept happening, because you can make poison do wondrous things, and only Nasiens can deal with that. We were explicitly told by Tristan himself, the other healer outside of Percy, that, yeah, I'm not like my mama. I ain't like that just yet. I cannot heal poison. But you know who can heal poison? Nasiens, who apparently the moment he found out that everyone was poisoned, he's like, I bet. He whipped out a vaccine in 15 seconds. Bro was simply that guy. And he can simply be that guy for the group forever. Like, that's all he needs to do. And that utility alone is a reason to keep a character around. Like, if you were to ask me in the original Seven Deadly Sins group who was there for mostly just utility, I'd say, especially by end of series, Diane, Gother, and really, honestly, you could argue Merlin were there for mostly utility. They were not necessarily crazily attacking anything. They were just there to shut down abilities, make new platforms, teleport people around, use items. Like, that's what they're for. And while admittedly Nasiens would not fall under this Seven Deadly Sins new group in terms of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, he can fit a mold, if you will. He can be there in spirit. Not just in spirit, but physically, and end up carrying where the others lack. And another thing that Nasiens provides that only he can provide is universal buffs and debuffs. Because remember, Nasiens has access to multiple group amps and enemy debuffs. For the group amps, he has access to that energy spell that he used at the very beginning of his introduction. Remember, that thing that made Percy go, oh my Lord, these gains are immaculate! Like, Percy was flexing everywhere, and it restored an entire dying forest. Nasiens is about that. Another group amp spell he has. Now, notably, this is questionable if Nasiens can reproduce this or not. I'm not sure if this counts as a poison, but Ceranos. he has a little bit of that special sauce, a little bit of that juice, where he can just sprinkle it on somebody or possibly make it himself, and bada bing, bada boom, you have a big old amp in the room, which can be countered by the energy absorption spell that he showed. Not the energy absorption, but the energy gaining spell. Why he didn't use it after Elgin, I'm just going to blame the plot on that one. I have no idea. However, you know what else is plot blaming? The fact that the like button is free and so the subscribe button. I greatly appreciate if you hit both of those since they help out the channel a lot. Thank you. However, he does have the Serenos amp and the energy spell amp. Two things that allow him to just boost the team even more. Having a tough fight against somebody, but you're almost there, you're close to relative, give him an amp. Give him a buff. Give him that little bit extra sauce. Give him a little bit more juice, and bada bing, bada boom, they're good. Top that off with the fact that he can also enhance his opponents by debuffing them. Plot twist. You thought I was gonna... Nah. But with Wither, he has the purest ability to just weaken anything. Like, straight up anything. Whether it be metal, armor, trees, people. Like, he can debuff people by sprinkling that Wither sauce all over them. Bada bing, bada boom, they're done. On top of that, he also has access to his two basic poisons, Henbane and Belladonna, things that allow you to paralyze and slow down opponents on the level of Ironside, to the point where characters like this is earliest Anne can compete directly with him. That's how massive of a debuff that Henbane and Belladonna can provide. Top that off with the fact that he very likely has access to the ability to just make people intoxicated. Like, he's completely immune to the effects of liquor. And he can probably just reproduce it. It's just a poison. Anything that just falls under the poison category, he can reproduce. So he could just shoot you in the face with literally what? It was called original demon liquor. Bada bing, bada boom. You're extremely intoxicated. Look at Hauser. He can just do that. Top that off with the newest one he just got fresh out the box. He has Melagallon's neurotoxin, which is strong enough to make characters like freshly amped Percy and powerful enough, insane in the membrane goddess demon hybrid Tristan knock heads, make people believe they're falling into the sky, have them running in circles, and have them running in place. He has access to that, and he can make sure that he inoculates everybody on his team so they aren't affected by it. Nasiens provide so much endless utility to the squad that he really could carry. In any big group battles, Nasiens is your guy. He can make it so that, oh, so they trying to jump us? Let's get them to jump each other. Let's weaken all of them. Let's make ourselves stronger. Let's get even more gains. He can do all of that just because he's Nasiens. And another thing that keeps him in the narrative, on top of his utility, on top of his character, that could hypothetically grow stronger in terms of learning more about him and his history, we also have the fact that Poison Mix is just broken. Like, I went over just some general uses of it, and they can be ever evolving. The definition of poison is so stretched out that I could honestly see it meaning pretty much anything. Like, would Molastula's stomach acid count as poison? Because if we're going to count things like Wither, things that just, I don't know, or another person's entire magic system, I think we could include stuff like that. Things that will stick around forever in the series, such as debuffs, such as buffs, such as stuff like that, can always be used to make Nasiens stronger. Nasiens has access to things that let Nasiens stay power relevant. And his magic is so flexible that it can always grow in accordance with the level of the narrative. Unfortunately, I don't think Donnie's magic can grow that much. I can think of ways, but I'm not exactly sure how Anne's magic can grow that much. The Four Knights, they're fine. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that they will get ever stronger. All their magics are broken in one way, shape, or form, and I'm confident we haven't even seen, really, Lance's native magic or Tristan's. I feel like those two are kind of just messing around with their base abilities because their base abilities are so strong as hybrids. So, Nasiens, someone who can amp himself, who can amp others, who can do everything and consistently get stronger by getting more and more poisons. There's a whole book that was set up for Nasiens to get his hands on so he could become stronger. Remember Merlin's infinite book of poisons that Nasiens apparently knows about? That's just amps on amps on amps. If he can get access to it and figure out how to make all these poisons, he can go crazy. Nasiens is a character who can be here for the long haul, and obviously I want him to be. I love him. He's great. And as a character, I think he fits within this new group, because he would be leaning much more towards Lance's side, the responsibility. Meanwhile, the rest of the knights, and honestly the rest of their crews, are kind of goofballs. Like, I won't even lie to you. Everyone on both Tristan's side and Percival's side, they're kind of just fun nutcases. While I do want everyone to stay around, I think Nasiens would be a great balancer, even if it was just him in the four knights, which I highly doubt, honestly. It would be more surprising to me if Nasiens even got to stay along. It wasn't just Anne, Isolde, and Donnie, or whatever, just off with the four knights group. But I think Nasiens works on pretty much every level. He can grow infinitely as a character, since we know nothing about his background, his history, or anything. We know he can grow infinitely as a buff machine and a debuff machine. He can obviously do that for pretty much ever with no limits, just because he is Father Nasiens. And 3, we know for a fact that he fits perfectly within the new social structure of this insanely powerful young group of idiots. So I think overall Nasiens is a wonderful fit for the future of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, and he has infinite potential. However, that's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. It's more for as low as $1 a month. Get exclusive videos, early content, and more. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Nagwa the Pencil, writing off.